Thank you everyone for joining the Coastal Beach Water Quality Workgroup meeting for November. Let's see, hopefully I'm not on mute. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. But it's great to see everyone. I currently work in the Ocean Standards Unit at the State Water Board and also help manage the beach monitoring program. For meeting controls, if anyone has any questions or would like to put any questions in the chat, please feel free and we'll try to answer those as we go along. So for the agenda, here are the items that we will be covering today. We'll just go through some introductions and local agency updates, and then we'll also be covering some of the quality assurance and beach program updates as well. And then we'll move into our guest speaker presentations. We have 5 presenters today, which is great. And then we will wrap it up by discussing the May 2026 meeting and then going over any questions that anyone on the call may have. So to start, we'll go through the local agency and beach program updates. So the first thing that we'd like to do on this meeting is to have each one of the agencies provide their name, their role, and then any updates that you would like to share with the group. So I will go through each one of the agencies, and if you're on the call, please feel free to unmute yourself and provide any updates if you have any to share. So for the first one, I'll start with East Bay Parks. Anyone from East Bay Parks on? No, okay. The next one is Humboldt. Okay, let's see. Next one we have is Long Beach.
Hi, good morning.
Hi,
Oh, go ahead, Juan.
Oh, sorry, Keith. I didn't know you were on the line. This is Juan Garcia with the City of Long Beach.
Hi.
Only update we have, this is Keith Allen, Long Beach. I'm just in the meeting for a brief moment. Juan will be here for the remainder. So I have another meeting at 10, but I know I've been in touch with you, Beverly, on the CDN file and the new Beach Watch, and we're looking forward to getting the new data file so we can incorporate that into our lab's Apollo LIMS system for automated data results. No other updates aside from that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's one of the topics that we will go over today. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Next one is Los Angeles.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Ashley Duong. I am the Chief of Recreational Waters Program. As far as updates, we don't have much updates, but this year we have no beach closure, so yeah. And a few rain advisories issued beginning of the year. And I think that's about it for LA County.
Yeah, and I'm here too. I'm Lucy Mkhitaryan, branch director over the Recreational Waters Program. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucy and Ashley. Appreciate you sharing. And that is great news. No closures this year. Let's see. Next one I have on the list is Marin County.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Aarti Kundu. I'm here representing Marin County Environmental Health Services. We have concluded our seasonal sampling for 2025, and we will resume our routine sampling in April 2026. One finding that I have was about the, unfortunately, chicken ranch ditch, which was identified as one in the bummer list of 2024-2025 by Heal the Bay report card. Regarding that, there is a project called the Chicken Ranch Beach Wetland Enhancement Project, and the aim of this project is to restore approximately 1 acre of tidal wetland near the Chicken Ranch Beach on Tamales Bay. So that will definitely help in improving the water quality at Chicken Ranch Beach. in Marin County. That's all from my side.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Artie. Let's see, Mendocino. Not sure if anyone from Mendocino is on today. Just looking through the list. Let's see. All right, next one I have is Monterey.
Hi, Brian Azevedo, County of Monterey, Environmental Health Supervisor. I also have Edna Botello, who's my Senior Staff Inspector on here. We just concluded our seasonal sampling for the AB411s, and we're doing our monthly sampling for off-season, beginning this month. And no other updates.
Great, thank you for sharing. Let's see, Orange County.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, you're good.
This is Alan Marham with Orange County Environmental Health. Just a little update for our program. We had 43 rain advisory days for our section. We also had about 98 postings for the AB 411 period. But other than that, we don't have any big updates. We did have a closure in May, unfortunately. But yeah, that's my update.
Thank you. Let's see, San Diego.
Hello, everyone. This is Romina Chess. I am the Supervising Environmental Health Specialist for the Beach and Bay program here in San Diego. I have two staff members on the meeting, Marie Marquez, which is my Senior Scientist, and Mark Frills, which is my EHS1. No real updates in San Diego other than we have not had any non-Tijuana River related closures. All of the closures in San Diego have been related to the Tijuana River. But in a happy note, water quality seems to be improving down there. The infrastructures that they have been putting into place at the International Wastewater Treatment Plant and in the water treatment plant in Tijuana seem to be working. So the closures have been reduced a lot from the beginning of the year. Another update that we have is we are actually working on a new website for the sdbeachinfo.com, and that should be rolling out within the next 6 months. Fingers crossed, because I'm working with an outside vendor. Thank you. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate the updates. Let's see. Next one is San Francisco. Righty. How about San Luis Obispo? Alrighty. Santa Barbara. Or I'm sorry, I skipped San Mateo. No one.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Oh, morning.
Ed Diaz here, Program Supervisor for the Land Use and Water Protection Programs, and I have here with Gomez Casillas. She is my specialist, new to the program. I'm happy to be here. Currently, we have no updates at this moment.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, Santa Barbara. Okay, cool. Santa Cruz.
Hi, Emily Donham here from Santa Cruz County. I think the only major update that we have is myself. I'm the new supervising water quality specialist, so I just started in January, and this is actually my first meeting. Otherwise, as others mentioned, we also just recently wrapped up our AB411 sampling and are going to be going down to our kind of winter less frequent sampling here soon.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Sonoma? Right, and then for the local agencies, Ventura, I think is the last one on my list here.
Hi, Roxy with Ventura County Environmental Health. No updates for this meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I also just wanted to open it up for Cal EPA or the US EPA if they're on and if they had any updates they would like to share. Alrighty. Right. So with that, we'll move into some of the informational items and then just some of the beach program updates. So for the award letters for the grant agreements, those have been sent out, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we are currently working on finalizing the grant agreement template. So please save and hold on to your invoice documents for each quarter so that we can complete your reimbursement requests once the contracts have been executed. As part of the grant agreement language, there's a few changes that will be coming to the quality assurance compliance language, which I will cover in the next slide. Here we go. So with that, I kind of wanted to just provide a quick overview of the hierarchy of the quality assurance hierarchy at the Water Board. So at the top level, we have the quality management plan. So this essentially documents how an organization structures its quality systems and describes its quality policies, procedures, criteria, roles, and responsibilities. And then underneath the management plan, we have the quality assurance program plan, and this is where the State Water Board's beach program plan comes into play and essentially specifies and describes the quality assurance and quality control policies and the general activities of the program. And then as all the local agencies know, for the quality assurance project plan, which is that base level, is it goes over the project specific details and considerations and documents the project's technical planning processes for obtaining data. So each agency submits their individual project plan as part of the beach program. So just wanted to provide that quick hierarchy because for coming up in our current approach that we had for the program plan for the beach safety monitoring program was the State Water Board developed a 3-phased approach for developing the program plan. It's one overall document, and essentially each phase was kind of just building upon the overall program plan. Phase 2 was approved by the US EPA in January of 2024, and that document is operational until 2029. Phase 3 was under review by State Water Board staff, and under this current approach, the agencies, as in previous years, would develop their project plans that would conform with the requirements in our State Water Board level program plan. So we received new direction from the US EPA and from the State Water Board's quality assurance officers that a really good step forward would be to split our beach program plan into a program level management plan and a program level project plan. And with this new approach, the agencies would no longer need to develop individual project plans and instead would operate under the State Water Board's program plan until we have a new program-wide quality assurance project plan that would be established and approved by the US EPA. And this will actually model a bit after the SWAMP program. It will be less burdensome on the quality assurance group and then also on the awardees of this program. And to kind of help to help collaborate and work through this process, we're going to be putting these new requirements in the grant agreements. It will essentially be like a task deliverable in the progress reports and the final project summary to help the agencies reach and maintain compliance, request updates that you would want to the program plan, or any special considerations that you would want the Water Board to take into account as we start to go towards complying with the quality assurance program plan. And just to provide a quick visual of what this would look like is essentially splitting up that second base in the triangle of the program plan into the program level management plan and the program level quality assurance project plan. Those would be some of the changes coming up with the grant agreements. Let's see. And then the other item that I wanted to cover, and I think most of the agencies are aware of this upcoming change, is some of the quality assurance implementation for Beachwatch. So Beachwatch is currently being updated to comply with CEDN and to help meet our quality assurance goals that are currently set in our program plan. And there are three main objectives that we'll be rolling out as part of the Beachwatch update. The first one is new data fields. So there will be different data fields added to the bulk upload template, and those include the sample agency code, lab agency code, lab batch, analysis date, detected above MDL, and quality assurance codes. And these will help us meet the minimum data field requirements that are set in CEDN. The next one for objective 2 is controlled vocabulary lists. So some of the data columns, both some of the existing data columns and the new ones, will include controlled vocabulary to help eliminate any sort of misinterpretation of the data and to help enhance and prevent Beachwatch from accepting data with values that would be outside of these controlled lists. And these lists will be detailed in the business rules document as well. And the last objective is data accuracy and validation. So we're adding a new functionality to Beachwatch that will include filter and logic rules to help ensure data accuracy. So when a bulk upload submission of the data is put into Beachwatch, the data will be checked through a system for things like duplicates, blank entries, required fields, and that there are valid analysis methods, unit, qualifier, and station code. So as part of the Beachwatch updates, the current timeline that we have right now is that, as was mentioned on one of the updates earlier, is that the agencies will receive the new bulk upload template sometime this month. IT is finalizing that template, and then we will share it with each one of the agencies. That way you have time to review the template, ask any questions, or raise any concerns that you might have. The Water Board staff will conduct testing of the new system this month and in December as well. And it's expected that the updates to Beachwatch will be complete in December so that we can have a clean break from 2025 to 2026 from the old system to the new. And then if it is something that the agencies would be interested in, we can hold some office hour sessions in January. That way, if you have any issues or questions, you can join the call. We would have someone from IT on and myself, and we can just kind of work through some of the issues that you might be having. But let's see, I think those were the main updates that I had. So since we have some time before the first workgroup presentation, were there any questions about the upcoming changes to quality assurance requirements or the new updates to Beachwatch? Yes, Keith? You might be on mute. Oh.
Okay, yeah, I just unmuted. Hey, just out of curiosity, the CEDN file is very specific on where the fields are located. And being that that's a Water Board feature. I know they're in a whole different section than you guys. Why didn't you just go with using the same CDIN file instead of making your own?
That's a good question. I believe that the upload file template was chosen specifically because we're trying to conform it with CDIN 2.0, which we'll be rolling out next year. So one of the things that we wanted to do is that instead of having it just comply with the current CDIN, is we wanted it to comply with the changes and updates that are being made to CDIN 2.0. That way, Beachwatch is already up to date. I think that was the main reasoning behind why the fields and the layout of the fields were selected.
Got it. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, let's see. Any other questions? All righty, let's see. I went through that much faster than I expected. Oh, sir.
Hey.
Go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. Yeah, I raised my hand earlier and you you didn't see it. So I just wanted to introduce myself to everybody. I'm Lori Weber. I'm the new director of the Water Quality Monitoring Council, so filling in the role that Nick Martirano played. I've been in this position for about 5 months, and this is my first Coastal Beach Workgroup meeting, so I'm looking forward to hearing what's latest updates and learning more. So I just wanted to talk and let you guys know that I'm the new director. I'm here if you have any questions or if you'd like to talk about the Monitoring Council, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think actually that would be a good thing to bring up, because I know when we first started the meeting, we went through a few of the agencies and then also to cover any water board personnel as well. So since we have a little bit of time, was there anyone from East Bay Parks or Humboldt that is on the call who didn't get a chance to introduce themselves or provide any updates?
Yes, Hal McLean, East Bay Parks, with Sabrina Sexton. Don't really have any updates, but happy to be here. Thanks.
Great, thank you. All right, great. Anyone else from the water board who may want to introduce themselves or provide any updates as it relates to the beach program?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself really quick. I'm Kat Fike. I supervise the Ocean Standards Unit, and the Coastal Beach Water Quality Monitoring Program falls under the Ocean Standards Unit. Beverly, I think you covered all the updates. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Alrighty, so let's see, maybe potentially we could move into the first presentation, which is, well, let me just pull up my list here, is with Michelle Tang. And let me just make sure that Michelle is on the call. I think I might have seen you earlier. Let's see.
Yeah, hey Beverly, I'm on the call.
Hi. Oh, great. Thank you. Would you be okay with starting your presentation a few minutes early?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Well, yeah, so with that, we'll move into work group presentations. And we'll start with Michelle Tang, who's a research data specialist in the swamp unit at the State Water Resources Control Board. And if you want, I will stop sharing my screen and give you control.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let me bring up. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. We can see. Yep, there we go. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. As Beverly mentioned, my name is Michelle Tang, Research Data Specialist at State Board in the Office of Information Management and Analysis. And today I'll be presenting our newly redesigned Safe to Swim map. All right, so before I get started, I just want to provide an overview on what I plan to cover. So first, I just want to provide some background on the current Safe to Swim map, and then also this new map that we're in the process of developing. From there, I'll then launch into a live demo of the new map, show you how it works, and then also just show you what we've developed so far. And then at the end, hopefully, I plan on leaving plenty of time for Q&A and just an open discussion on hearing your feedback on how we could improve things moving forward. So I think at this point in the development process, we are pretty much open to any and all feedback that you might have. I think specifically, though, it would be really helpful to hear any input on how we could improve the public messaging of this map and just making sure that we are presenting the data and the information and the science in a way that is clear and accurate and also consistent with, what agencies are doing across the state. So that would be really helpful, but as I mentioned, any and all feedback is really helpful at this point. Okay, so I just want to provide some background on the current Safe to Swim map, and some of you may be familiar with this map, some of you maybe not, but this is what is currently live on the My Water Quality Safe to Swim portal website. And it has been up there for a while now. I want to say that we first started developing it back in late 2017. And over the years, I've been pushing intermittent updates every once in a while, but nothing major, nothing that has really changed the user experience or just the way that we're presenting the data. One thing that this map has done well, I think, over the years is it has improved data accessibility to our fecal indicator bacteria monitoring data. This was really kind of our first effort at combining data from multiple water board data sources and centralizing it all in one location, one tool for people to view and download the data. So those data sources include Beachwatch, CEDAN, and then also our Central Valley Lower American River E. coli monitoring map. But beyond being just a really nice data viewer, this map doesn't really do anything else, I guess, beyond that. It does show, for example, if you were to click on a site, it will show the single sample results. It will show the calculated 6-week geometric mean and plot that on the same graph along with the bacteria-specific thresholds from the statewide bacteria objectives. But it doesn't really explain, if there is an exceedance of one of those thresholds, what that means. It doesn't really provide a whole lot of background on the statewide bacteria objectives, and the number one feedback we've been getting from users and the public is for that extra data interpretation. So our office has long recognized the need to update this map and to make it more user and public friendly. And this is something that we've been trying to do, personally I've been trying to do for a couple of years now, and just unfortunately never found the time to really make any meaningful progress towards a full redesign effort. But fortunately, and there is good news, we had a lot of help this year, and that really breathed new life into this project. So Chloe Chang was our Stanford Fellow who worked with us for a couple of months over the summer, and during that time she really wanted to build something new. So she took on the task of building a brand new interface for the Safe to Swim map, and this is kind of what basically her internship has since ended, so she no longer works with us, but we've taken what she did and the code that she wrote, and we're continuing to build upon that and also finalize things for eventual public release. So some of the new features of this map include a new dashboard interface. So it does look a lot different than our current map, but this new layout allows us to present a lot more information and also present the data in new ways. The new map also shows status based on recent monitoring results. So basically looking at each site, taking the recent monitoring results, comparing it to the thresholds in the statewide bacteria objectives, and then translating that into a general level of risk of illness for recreators who might decide to swim at that site. So I'll talk a lot more about that later on in the live demo. And then in general, this map just provides a lot more documentation just in terms of how we're using the data, the science behind using fecal indicator bacteria data, and then also a lot more background too in terms of how that all relates to the statewide bacteria objectives. Okay, and so this is my last slide, and I just really quickly want to touch on next steps for this project. So really emphasizing the fact that this map is still a work in progress. We still have quite a lot to do before it can go live, and some of those tasks are listed there under immediate objectives. In addition, though, we also have some future long-term goals in mind as well. And a lot of this involves potentially integrating other data sets, including what might hopefully be real-time beach advisories and closures data, and also harmful algal bloom monitoring data as well. And then just that last point there, we don't have a set deadline for when this new map is going to go live, but obviously we would like it to do so sooner rather than later. I still need to check with my management on this, but coming from a developer's perspective, I think a go live date in late winter, early spring next year, depending on the feedback that we get, sounds pretty reasonable in terms of just completing those last remaining tasks. Okay, so that was my last slide, and this is usually kind of the point when I would, take a quick pause and just ask if anybody has any burning questions. But I do have a lot to cover in this live demo, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip right to it, and then hopefully just leave plenty of time at the end for those questions or any comments that you might have. Okay, so as I mentioned, this map is not live on our public website yet, but we do have a test site for it, and that is where we are currently testing all of the code, and it is accessible to anyone, so feel free to use this link either during or after this presentation, and it should be available for anyone outside of our network. So go ahead and navigate to that. Okay, so you should be looking at my browser right now, and let me know if you don't see it. But the test site has loaded here, and when you first load it, there is just kind of this pop-up right now explaining that this map is currently under development. Things might change. We also have a disclaimer just in terms of the data use and also the use of this map. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. So what you're seeing right now is the test site, and I will say that when it does go public, the look and feel might be different, so we do plan on changing the aesthetics a bit more, but the layout I think should stay pretty much the same. So we have the title at the top. We also have links to our how to use guidance document as well as our frequently asked questions document, which I'll be returning to kind of at the end of this live demo. And then if you scroll down, there is an interactive map to the left, a search sites panel to the right there, and then also a status panel to the bottom right. And that part is currently empty right now, but as you click on a site on the map, it will populate with information. So starting with the interactive map, right now it is currently showing all of the monitoring sites throughout the state for which we have FIB monitoring data. And as I mentioned before, this is coming from 3 data sources, so Beachwatch, CEDAN, and also the Central Valley Lower American River E. coli map. So each one of these sites is being color-coded based on its safety status. So we currently have 3 categories: blue for low risk, orange for use caution, and then gray for not enough data. So if I were to click on one of these sites, I'm going to go ahead and click on one of these blue low-risk sites. You'll see that this bottom part gets populated with that site name, the current status, the site code, geographic coordinates, last sample date to give you an idea of what the recency of the data is, and then also the number of samples collected and for which we have data in the last 6 weeks. So for this particular site, since it does have a low risk category or low risk status, what that means is that we've basically looked at the recent monitoring results, and we're comparing both the single sample results and also the calculated 6-week geometric mean to those thresholds laid out in the statewide bacteria objectives. And for both of those metrics, we're not seeing exceedances. So we're assigning it a low risk category, basically saying that based on the data that is currently available and the current conditions, there is a lower risk of illness if one were to recreate at this site. Likewise, if we were to click on one of these orange sites which has a use caution status, similarly, we are comparing the recent monitoring results, so looking at both the single sample results and that geometric mean, and comparing it to those thresholds. If there is one exceedance, or at least one exceedance, if either the single sample results or that geometric mean, or both, then that will trigger a use caution status here, where we're basically telling the user to say, use caution. We are seeing some exceedances and high levels of bacteria here, so there is a higher risk of illness if one were to recreate. And then clicking on one of these gray sites here, I think this is hopefully a bit more self-explanatory. Basically, these sites, we don't have enough recent data to really make a determination one way or the other. And so we are just kind of leaving that and putting it in its own category. Now you will notice that this map does include both coastal and inland sites. And so as kind of laid out in the statewide bacteria objectives, the appropriate indicator bacteria used for evaluating recreational water quality is different depending on the site type. So we do have a GIS process that we are using that classifies each site as saltwater or freshwater, and based on that site classification, we are using either Enterococcus data for the determination of the status or E. coli data for the determination of the status. Enterococcus for coastal and then E. coli for the inland freshwater sites. Okay, so if I were to click on one of these sites, and let's say you are, you see the status and you're really interested in knowing what is the actual data that is going into this evaluation. So you can scroll down, and we do have a data panel here. And it gives a little bit more information about the site, saying that it is classified as a saltwater site, and therefore we are basing status on the number of samples of Enterococcus. And if you scroll down a little bit more, and also because this is being classified as a saltwater site, Enterococcus is the default data that gets loaded on the initial load. But if you scroll down a little bit more, we have 3 additional graphs here. The first one at the top being the status history. So this is really neat in that you can, of course, view the current status, but then also see the history of the status over time based on all of the historical data that we do have. And if you scroll your mouse over one of these little slices here, it's a little bit hard to read right now, and we plan to change this, but it does pop up more information about what exactly defines or triggers a status. In this case, because it's low risk, we are seeing a pass for both the geometric mean and single sample results, so that is below the threshold. But if we kind of scroll our mouse over some of these orange slices here, you'll see kind of exactly what triggered it the use caution status, whether it was an exceedance of the geometric mean or the single sample result, and how that has changed over time. Below that, we have two separate graphs to show both the calculated 6-week geometric mean as well as the single sample results. And we plan on adding another legend here, but to kind of just make it a bit more clear. But the color scheme is kind of, I think, consistent in that the orange points represent those values that fall above the threshold lines, and then the blue points are the values that are below that threshold line. And it's a little bit hard to see in the background. We do have those threshold lines plotted horizontally for reference, and those are also taken from the statewide bacteria objectives. So this, I think, is hopefully really helpful or useful for people in that they can see the actual reported monitoring results coming in, and then also seeing how that data is summarized into the 6-week geometric mean, and then also seeing how that it's further summarized into the evaluation of the status. Okay, and then scrolling down a little bit more, we just have a little bit of additional information down here, just providing some context in terms of the safety statuses, saying that they are based on the statewide bacteria objectives, and providing a bit of a formal or perhaps like a more technical definition of what they are. And we also do go into a bit more detail about this in the FAQs, which I'll show you. But again, I think we plan on building this out a little bit more just to provide that context for users, especially those who don't have a lot of background with this type of data, to kind of understand it a little bit better. And then scrolling up, I think, actually, I forgot to show this part. So going back to the data panel, there are two menu options right here as well. So if a site has data for more than one indicator bacteria, you can switch that here. So right now we're looking at Enterococcus data. The site does have E. coli data. So I could go ahead and switch that, and you'll see that the graphs have been updated to show E. coli specific data and E. coli specific thresholds. The status bar, however, has been cleared out, considering that this is a saltwater site and that the appropriate indicator bacteria for that is Enterococcus. So we did just clear it out there for clarity. And then switching back to Enterococcus, we also have a menu right here for changing the time range view of the data. So a lot of these sites do have a lot of historical data, and somebody might only just be interested in the more recent data. So we have a preset right here for the last past year, and that'll just kind of help you narrow down and look at the data, just the more recent data. We also have one for the past 5 years. And I think our plan is also to provide an option for users to kind of provide a custom time frame in which they want to view the data, so that they have a lot more flexibility as opposed to just choosing from these presets here. And then scrolling up, I also just wanted to touch on this search sites functionality as well. This you can use to, locate a specific site that you might be looking for based on its site name or its site code. So just an easy way to kind of sort through a lot of those sites that you're seeing on the map. And you can select the sites from this menu as well, which could be helpful if you're just kind of really quickly going through multiple sites at once. There is also this checkbox right here where we added this because, we do have a lot of monitoring sites being displayed on this map right now. And a lot of those sites right now do not have recent data. So we just added an option right here where to kind of make the viewing experience a little bit easier perhaps for those people only looking for sites with recent data, you can go ahead and use this checkbox and it will filter out all of the sites that don't have data from at least the last 6 weeks. Okay, so I think that is all I wanted to cover in terms of the interactivity part. I do want to revisit these 2 links up here. So as I mentioned before, we do have a how to use guide, which just kind of provides a bit more guidance in terms of how to use the new Safe to Swim map interface. And hopefully the interface is pretty intuitive, but in case it's not, we do plan on kind of building this out a little bit more, making it more visual, adding screenshots and all of that. And then also we have this frequently asked questions document as well. And this is where we kind of go into a lot more detail in terms of how we're using the data and the science behind all of this. So again, covering some of the basics like what are indicator bacteria, why are we using it, going into kind of the data sources that we're using and how the data is collected. We also provide, there's a link down here as well where we talk a little bit more about how the data is being processed for this dashboard. And so we are currently using a Python script to kind of standardize the data formats coming from multiple data sources, and we do have a link to this Python script right here if anyone's interested and just wants to take a look at how exactly we're doing that. So we have that all documented here. We also have a link to the Open Data Portal as well, and this is where we are publishing the full data set for the Safe to Swim map. So if you would like to download the complete data set, that is available right here. And then scrolling down, we have a bit more information about how exactly we are evaluating these safety statuses. And as I stated before, it is very closely based on the statewide bacteria objectives. So we have specific criteria for the single sample results, as well as the 6-week geometric mean. And then also, we go into a bit more background about the bacteria objectives and why they're important. And then last but not least, we do have a section at the bottom here describing the limitations of this data and then also this map. So obviously there are a lot of factors that go into, evaluating whether recreational water quality is good or not. And this map only covers a part of that. So there is a lot more that the user should hopefully consider as they are deciding whether or not they should go out and have a nice day at the beach and go swimming. So I think that is basically it. So at this point, I'm just going to stop talking and hear if anyone has any initial comments or questions about anything that I've shown. And and also I will put up my contact information as well. I realize too that maybe some people would like to, open up this map at kind of their free time and just go through it on their own. So if you have any questions or comments even after this presentation, do feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to answer those. So I'll go ahead and stop talking now and just open it up for comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. It looks like we do have a question so let's see, my screen was at Mark. Alan. There we go.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for your presentation. That was great. Looks like a very powerful tool. My question is, how frequently does this tool pull data from those beach watch and seed sites?
Yeah, great question. So right now there are several data processes, both that IT manage and both that we manage as well. And right now it's being updated daily, so kind of every work day. But we do need to review some of the IT related processes because there may be some processes there where it might be updated a little bit less frequently. So even when we update things on our end, it might not come through as daily. But the goal is for everything to be a daily refresh for work days.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Looks like we have another question in the chat from Amalia, and it says, what do you anticipate your site coverage will be for coastal harmful algal bloom data?
Yeah, great question. So that is something that I probably can't answer right now. We probably will have to do a lot more kind of looking into that data and also speaking with our FHAP coordinators. But right now, our FHAP program is primarily freshwater based. So I want to say that it won't be as focused on the coastal sites and more inland. But again, we do need to do a bit more research into that and more coordination there.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. I'm looking to see no other questions in the chat, and I don't see any other hands raised. Let's see. I've got a question from Bonnie, and it says, for freshwater sites, are you screening out data from locations where creek access is restricted?
Thanks for the question. We are currently not. So right now we are kind of doing a straight up pool from a full pool from beach wash and seeding, and not doing a whole lot of filtering out unless there are some things about the data where we cannot use it for whatever reason, in either as it doesn't have a valid result or we can't use it in the calculated 6-week geometric mean. So we are not doing any type of other filtering of any other sites.
Great. And Sharon? Let's see. You might be on mute.
Yep. Sorry, took a minute. I wanted to ask a couple questions. I was wondering, do you also have statuses that cover advisories and closures? Are those part of, the whole set of statuses that will be reflected?
No, so not currently. So right now we only have those 3 statuses, the kind of use caution, low risk, and not enough data. But that is something that we are looking into. So that's one of our kind of long-term goals. And it would be, a big deal if we could add additional statuses for any real-time advisories or closures there. That's something that we are definitely want to do. But we just have to look into the feasibility of that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I got another hand raised for Lori.
Hi, thank you. Just wanted to chime in. Great presentation, Michelle. I can see a lot of work has gone into this renewed map. It's really a departure from the way that we have historically made this data available, in that there's sort of this risk communication, which is a new way of communicating risk, at least for the water board's websites, or for the monitoring council websites. And so my question actually to the larger group is, as we have many people from county health departments who have worked with public communication for quite a while, and we'd love to get your feedback on sort of how this messaging is, this new messaging format that we have, and how that coincides or aligns with the messaging that you all do in your local areas or in your county website. So I'm happy to hear your feedback on that. I just wanted to put a plug in. Michelle was going to be fielding the comments, but I'll also be there listening in to, respond to comments as needed. So this is a really new thing. And then also to sort of respond to that previous question, we do have a presentation, as Michelle said, that's on the radar to, in our long-term goal is to include the postings and beach closure information. And we do have a presentation later on today with a very preliminary prototype data visualization that on showing the beach notifications. So our long-term goal is to align or to combine both of those. So stay tuned for the presentation later this morning.
Great, thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Let's see, and then we have two other questions in the chat as well. Another one from Amalia, and she asks, is there an ideal timeline for feedback on the tool and or documentation?
Great question, thank you. I haven't thought of it yet because it is an ongoing development process, and any feedback even during the development is super helpful. So I would say maybe within the next month or so is probably the most ideal, but we are happy to take comments and questions and feedback on an ongoing basis.
Great, thank you. And then there's one other question in here that says, will it eventually be possible to add data sets from local agencies like the San Francisco Public, I don't know the last two letters of the acronym, but so for example, agencies like San Francisco?
That's definitely something we can look into. We did not have it kind of initially kind of in our to-do list, but if that would be helpful for people, we can definitely look into the feasibility of that. Is there a specific data set that you might have in mind just to get a sense of, what type of integration that might entail?
Yes, hi, this is Rebecca Groves. I was referring to the data set that I linked to in the chat. It's SFPUC, the Public Utilities Commission, and they do beaches and bay monitoring in San Francisco. And they update weekly, and it seems like that data set is not getting incorporated into a number of different statewide monitoring visualizations, and it would be incredibly it would make the California state programs much more useful to people in San Francisco if the data were incorporated.
Okay, yeah, sorry for missing that. But yeah, we can definitely look into that. And again, as we've kind of integrated multiple data sets already, there is room and a possibility that we could also add additional data sets to that. So thank you for noting that, and we can definitely look into it.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Let's see. Any other questions? We have a couple more minutes in case anyone else had any other comments or questions. Yes. Amalia?
Hi, Michelle. Thanks again. A question for you. So I'm just curious, the choice to display risk as opposed to kind of what I've seen water boards use in the past in terms of like advisory levels, right? Like for HABs, it's more about like danger warning, caution, and Heal the Bay often uses like a grading, right? Like A through F. I'm just curious about what others think about that in terms of like providing like your own risk analysis based on kind of one indicator, right? Fecal indicator versus, other potential sources of risk of being in a water body. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we would also be interested in hearing that as well. Any other feedback? Just kind of based on what Lori said, this is kind of a new approach that we're taking, and we know that there definitely could be room for improvement there. So thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, if anybody does have any follow-up to that, be very interested in hearing that.
I'll just support that, Michelle. Just chiming in to say thanks. I completely agree with what Michelle said. We we are just starting this communication effort around risk, but I think that that's a worthwhile effort because that's the way the public thinks about, when they're going, when any of us, when we're going out to a beach, that's what you're thinking is, what is the risk? So we welcome feedback and suggestions on how to sort of work on our message so that it's appropriate and aligns with other agencies.
Well said. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle, so much for this presentation. It's very informative, and if you're okay with it, if we could share your presentation out with the group after the meeting as well, that way, if anyone has any questions or would like to review the map, I think that would be really helpful. So, if you're good with that, that would be great. Awesome, thank you. And if anyone else has any other questions for Michelle, her contact info is in the agenda, and then also in her presentation. So thank you, Michelle. So with that, we'll move into our next presentation, which is from Eric Burrs. He's the Senior Environmental Scientist at the Clean Water Team at the State Water Resources Control Board. So Eric, if you are on, please feel free to start. Great.
Good morning, everybody. Also, I'm the facilitator for the Safe to Swim network. So I'm bridging both the network as well as the Clean Water Team for this project. I've been working on STEM resources that are focused on Safe to Swim. We hopefully will have, when I say we, it's me and whoever else I can get to chip in. Within the first quarter of 2026, we'll have resources available, handouts, games, as well as videos, 6th grade through adulthood on aspects of Safe to Swim. What we'd like to have within our subgroup, our outreach committee that we formed a few years ago, to meet in the first quarter, review all these documents that we're putting together, assimilating, just to make sure that we're consistent with our messaging and our languages across the grade scales, but also to get contributions from all of your agencies. I can't do everything. We don't have those resources. And we know that there are things outside of the water boards that we could leverage. So if you have resources that you use for your outreach, handouts, freebies, if your agency provides online videos for tours of your facilities, things like that, we could use some assistance. Also, by that time, we'll have a script. We'd really like to get videos of users, people that are out there recreating, our Rec 1 people, divers, surfers, kayakers, paddleboarders. A lot of folks, especially children in our schools, don't have access to freshwater recreation or marine recreation. So teaching them about Safe to Swim, it's kind of a disconnect if they're not actually involved in those or know somebody that's involved in that activity. So this would be a way of sharing with them how they can get involved in these activities, how they're important to people, and then the water connection will kind of make sense. And then why do we have to have that safe water quality objectives and the science behind all of that? With restrictions on travel and just my time, I'm not going to be able to put that together. So this is just a quick few little minutes to let you know what the Clean Water Team and part of the network is doing, and then we're going to need some assistance from you all sometime in the first quarter of 2026. So with that, thank you, Beverly. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. With that, are there any questions for Eric?
I think we're good to go.
We're good. All right. Great. Well, thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate it. And if anyone would like to, provide any feedback for Eric to help out with some of these things that are coming up for next year, or if you have any questions, his email is also linked in the agenda. And with that, we will start our first break. So it's currently 10:04, so we will be back and start our next presentation at 10:15. So thank you everyone, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Alrighty. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. It looks like our next presenter, who is Trent, may have dropped off the call. So I'm just going to give him a minute or two to see if he's able to rejoin.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Hi, Trent.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. For some reason, my meeting controls don't have you on here, which is interesting. But glad you're here.
Surprise.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm not sure why it did that, but thank you for being here today. So we will get started with our next presentation, which is Trent Biggs, as Professor of Geography and the Joint Doctoral Program Director at San Diego State University. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and hand it over to you. Thank you, Trent.
All right, thank you. And let's see, there must be a share button. Let's see, my share button is grayed out.
Oh, request as presenter. Let's see. Yeah, maybe this might be why my Teams is being interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I can also email the presentation to someone.
Yeah, if you want to email it to me, I should be able to share. And then we can do that. Let's see.
Okay. Or maybe we can figure out the sharing here. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I still don't, my share is still grayed out there.
That is interesting. I wonder, let's see, controls. Let's see, who can present? Okay, try it now.
There it is.
Let's see if it works.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
see it. I'll still send this email to you with the presentation, but okay, great. Here we go. Hey, are you able to see my screen okay?
Yep.
But it's not in present mode, possibly.
Yeah, not yet. Let's see.
Yeah, let me see here. Sorry for the delay, everybody.
No
well,
worries.
in the interest of time, I may go ahead and just, if you're able to see this well enough, I may just go ahead and go for it.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. Oh, there we go.
We're seeing presenter mode though.
Okay, great. I'll just stick with this. Great. So thanks, everybody. My name's Trent Biggs. I'm a professor in the geography department at San Diego State. And just wanted to give a little shameless plug for the types of water research that we're doing at San Diego State. And it's not just me. There's a whole group of people in this, what we call the Blue Gold group. And you can find all of us at the website. There's geographers who do remote sensing and modeling, geology people in groundwater public health who do a lot of work with contaminants of emerging concern, non-target analysis, and in civil engineering, people specialists in organic matter and wastewater treatment. And then we've also started a group called Water Across Borders, where we're working with our counterparts in Mexico to increase monitoring capacity and develop collaborative work. But today I'm going to focus on a specific topic that interests this group on real-time and remote sensing-based monitoring of sediment and sewage contamination in the Tijuana River and estuary. And this is work that's done with a lot of collaborators and funding from various sources, including foundations, EPA, NASA, and NOAA. So you're all aware that the sediment loads from the Tijuana River and associated sewage contamination are problems, big problems for both ecosystems and public health. However, the Tijuana River, especially during storm flows, is not sampled regularly. It's been sampled recently for some special projects and for some individual permits, but it's not regularly sampled with publicly submitted results that I'm aware of, and please correct me if I'm wrong. And it's never been monitored continuously or in real time, despite its importance as a hazard. Part of the problem is that samples are time-consuming to expensive to both collect and analyze, so we wanted to reduce those time and expense costs. Here's an example of the time series of the discharge of the Tijuana River, showing storm flow and then sewage that often happens after storm events and has been continuously flowing since the end of 2002. And so a clear, persistent problem. So there are real-time monitors of water quality in the Tijuana estuary at 2 locations. They monitor dissolved oxygen, salinity, turbidity, temperature, pH. For a while they were monitoring chromophoric dissolved organic matter, but not really parameters that will allow us to estimate bacteria, especially concentrations in space and time. So we want to generate a monitoring system that can provide real-time information about sediment loads and especially sewage contamination. And then secondly, to better understand the estuary and how it retains and processes sediment and sewage. And then lastly, the new area that we're looking into is how the contamination propagates up and down the coast. So the opportunity for reducing processing cost and real-time monitoring is fluorescence-based measurements. And there are 2 main things that we monitor for: tryptophan-like fluorescence, which is a good sewage and bacterial proxy, and chromophoric dissolved organic matter, or CDOM, which also has a lot of other sources in the environment, including natural sources of dissolved organic matter like soil organic matter decomposition. So we have 2 ways to measure these 2 fluorescence-based indicators. One is with a benchtop sampler, so you still have to collect the sample, but it's can be analyzed in minutes. And that's what I'll be calling the Aqualog. And then our second example is an in situ sensor that has both tryptophan and CDOM sensors on it. This is the photo here is of the sensor that we actually used in the Tijuana River and in the estuary, called the Manta 3. So when I talk about Manta 3, that's our real-time sensor. And then we've hooked that up with telemetry to get real-time data on these sewage indicators. So for remote sensing, there are 2 basic options. One is a near-surface hyperspectral camera. This provides continuous data on the reflectance of the water surface, can have fewer cloud issues than satellite imagery, and gives you more than 100 bands in the electromagnetic spectrum. And so we have one of these mounted at our Boca Rio site in the Tijuana estuary, and this just shows the little floating platform that we have. We hauled it out on land here to show the housing for the Manta 3 as well as the hyperspectral camera. And then for the second option for remote sensing is satellite-based. There's Planet images that give daily data at 3 meters resolution in the visible spectrum, and then Sentinel, which gives 5 to 12 day, depending on the platform, at 10 to 20 meters resolution in visible and radar, and I'll be showing some results from radar today. So we want to know how accurate are these in situ proxy sensors of bacteria in wastewater. So we did both wastewater addition experiments as well as sampling in the Tijuana River and estuary under field conditions. Secondly, how can remote sensing supplement those in situ sensors to map contamination? And third, what are the spatial and temporal patterns of sediment and sewage contamination in the Tijuana estuary and near shore? So we did some wastewater addition experiments in the lab where we have a big bucket that we put sewage into and then dilute it with clean water to give you these different percent wastewater mixtures. And the top right panel here shows the correlation between the benchtop instrument, the Aqualog, measurements of tryptophan like fluorescence, and the RU is just Raman units. It's the unit of fluorescence. And so that one did very, very well. And there's differences among these different lines, but that's just the differences in the base amount of tryptophan reflectance in the wastewater that we collected from the International Wastewater Treatment Plant. So once you know the tryptophan signature or value of a given wastewater, you can predict with high accuracy what its tryptophan will be for any mixture of clean water and that wastewater. It's a very linear, very consistent relationship. The Manta, the infield sonde, didn't do quite as well. It did well up until about 40% wastewater, and then it starts saturating and then even decreasing, which is not ideal. But CDOM continued to increase, so we are looking into ways to correct the tryptophan at high wastewater percentages. But if your wastewater has less than 40%, or if your environmental water body has less than 40% raw sewage, there's a decent correlation with the in-field sensor. So then in the field, we installed two sensors, one at the International Boundary and Water Commission Station on the Tijuana River and another one at this, what we're calling the Boca Rio site. And we have a monitoring station there. This is my student maintaining the sonde in the field. And again, this is what it looks like. The Boca Rio site was a floating platform. The IBWC was a fixed site with a PVC housing. We've since moved it due to sedimentation issues, persistent sedimentation issues there, down to the Hollister Street site. But the results I'll be showing today are from the IBWC. So once you plug these things into their to the telemetry station, you can get real-time data on the turbidity, the conductivity, the tryptophan, like fluorescence, and the CDOM. And this is in a WQ Data Live is the platform we've been using. We've recently switched over to a system that's monitored by the estuary, and we'll continue to upload our real-time data there. Okay. So to assess the accuracy, we sampled, took water samples during a few storm events, and the top panel here shows the time series of discharge during the December 2022 event, and the turbidity. And turbidity is a major interference with tryptophan. So this was a big problem. And on the bottom panel is the time series of discharge, again in black, the time series of the raw tryptophan signal as a dotted blue line, and then the solid blue line is the turbidity corrected tryptophan. So we were able to correct for the effects of turbidity, at least event by event, and get pretty good correspondence between the Manta, the in-field tryptophan concentration, and E. coli, which are the black dots in this bottom panel. And notice these numbers are in million MPN. So we were talking earlier, the limit is what, 100, I think. This is going, the first tick mark here is 5 million, and it goes up to 20 million. So these are real super high numbers. And then, so these are the same numbers viewed on a scatter plot with the aqualog tryptophan versus the E. coli in million MPN. And pretty good correlation among events. The in situ manta does fairly well, better than we expected based on our wastewater addition experiments. But there's a different relationship between events. So each event still has its own separate regression line. And we don't know yet what causes variability among events like that. So then we can ask questions like, what's the percent of raw untreated wastewater during base flow and storm flow conditions? So the top panel is base flow conditions, 2 cubic meters per second down to 1 cubic meter per second with that sort of daily signature of wastewater. And we can use, since we don't know exactly the tryptophan concentration of the initial wastewater, we then use 3 potential lines, 3 potential equations that predict the percentage of wastewater, which are these colored lines, with the right axis showing the percent wastewater under those base flow conditions, between 40 and 100% wastewater in the Tijuana River. And then during storm events, there's some dilution of the wastewater down to 10 to 20%. So we can get time series of what the untreated wastewater percentage is. And then we can start making plots that allow us to get discharge load relationships. So x-axis here is discharge. The y-axis is either the percent wastewater in the left panel or the wastewater discharge in cubic meters per second. And you'll notice that changes during storm events. And so more wastewater is getting mobilized and discharged during storm events, though that increase is slower than the total rate of discharge increase. So we get a dilution effect for large storm events. So the challenges that we faced were there's fouling by sediment and organisms. Here's on the right is a picture of the Sonde after a event where it just filled up with sand. Requires frequent maintenance. We did notice some sensor degradation and instability requiring replacement. It needs special calibration standards, and you need staff to maintain these things and sustained funding. So you can't just put it out there and leave it. But some good initial results and allows us to assess what's going on, especially during storm events. So for remote sensing of water quality using lab experiments, we used the same camera that we deployed at Boca Rio in this lab setting, and we see a regular change in the reflectance as we either dilute, I forget which way we did it, if we started with wastewater and diluted it, or we started with seawater and added wastewater, but whichever way, you see some key absorption features at different wavelengths of light that give us some optimism that we should be able to detect wastewater to a fairly low percentage once we have some of the field data processed and cleaned for clouds and illumination conditions. So moving on to the satellite imagery, where's the plume? This is the border region, the U.S.-Mexico border. I don't know if you can see my mouse, hopefully, is right here. The Tijuana estuary is north of that. And then there are 2 features here. One is that you'll notice, one is the outlet of the Tijuana River, the other is the outlet of the Punta Banderas De Los Buenos treatment plant. And so this image is from Sentinel-1, which is great because it can see through clouds. It's synthetic aperture radar in the microwave, and it can see through clouds, which is great. 6 to 12 day revisit time, 3-hour latency, so you can get the image relatively quickly. So you'll notice that, surprise, the biggest plume or the most frequent plume detection was not at the mouth of the Tijuana River, but at this Punta Bandera treatment plant down south. And some modeling done by UCSD folks has shown that that Punta Bandera plant is a critical source of contamination, even to San Diego beaches under some ocean circulation conditions. So our goal for the rest of 2025 and for the next year is to use both shore and boat-based validations of this radar plume, because there's some uncertainty about the relationship between the radar detected plume and the actual contaminant levels. So ultimately, we want to link this up with some modeling that is being done by Falk Feddersen at UCSD, so we can supplement the remote sensing information with the modeling, so we can get more of a forecast of what water quality is likely to be under different conditions. The other thing that we're doing is expanding our monitoring network to include cross-border data and lab intercalibration. So there's 2 groups, one coast, one community, and one coastal community that are assembling existing data in the transboundary region and putting them into different dashboards, as well as intercalibrating SDSU's labs with labs in Mexico. So we hope that will help fill in some of the gaps south of the border. So in conclusion, fluorescence-based measurements provide useful proxies of bacteria. The benchtop results were quite accurate over a range of orders of magnitude. The in situ data was pretty good, but it varies by event and storm flow conditions. The remote sensing provides a useful supplement to the in situ data, including through clouds, but we need to field validate it better. And we're currently integrating modeling, monitoring, and remote sensing to get a comprehensive picture of the water quality along the coast. So that is all. I am happy to answer questions. I hope you could hear me that whole time.
Yes, yeah, we could hear you. It was a really great presentation. Thank you.
Very
Right,
good.
let's see. I'm just checking the chat really quick. And then, yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to also raise your hand. Let's see. Awesome. Okay, looks like we have a question in the chat, and it says, do you have plans to continue these efforts? If so, what are you hoping to see in the future?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to continue the radar-based plume mapping, and we've got some campaigns planned for some boat-based transects going through the plume that we've mapped using radar. We're also continuing to deploy our tryptophan sensors in the Tijuana River at Hollister and in the Tijuana estuary. What we're hoping to find is the recuperation of the estuary following what we hope will be the successful remediation of the transboundary flows. And we've actually already seen some of that in the estuary. The tryptophan signal in the estuary has decreased about half, as we might expect from the discharge across the border being reduced by between half and 80% over the past few months, almost a year now. So we're hoping to monitor the continued success and improvement there, but really our longer term goal is to better link the remote sensing with the in situ monitoring.
Great, thank you. And then another question that we received is what parameter is measured by the remote sensing?
Yeah, so the Sentinel-1, the SAR, the radar, is typically used to map oil slicks. So what it's mapping is the micro ripples on the surface of the ocean, and so when that gets contaminated with oil or has higher oil than the surrounding water, it tends to smooth out some of those micro ripples, which alters the backscatter in intensity and directionality. And so we're measuring really the micro roughness of the surface. And so that's, as you might imagine, an imperfect proxy for the constituents that might be in the plume. And so that's one reason why we need to compare the radar both with other optical images that better map turbidity, for example. So the optical imagery from Sentinel-2 will be a better map of turbidity and maybe dissolved organic matter if the conditions are right, and the radar imagery. Unfortunately, they're on different platforms, so it's hard to get images collected at the exact same time. But yeah, so but from our own experience, it's cloudy a lot, so we really need some good methods that can penetrate clouds.
Great. Let's see. Another we have raised hand. So Michelle, if you want to ask your question, you might be on mute.
I know. Thank you. Can you just elaborate more on how the fluorescence of tryptophan and CDOM, like exactly what proxies of bacteria they are?
Yeah, so there's so for tryptophan, there's proteins that are typically associated with live bacteria, like E. coli, live fecal indicator bacteria, like E. coli, that fluoresce like tryptophan. So there's a lot of different amino acids in that family. So we don't know exactly which one is fluorescing at the wavelength of the UV light that we're shining into the water. But it's a mix of relatively labile compounds, so they decompose quite quickly in the environment, that are associated with bacteria. So I don't know if that's specific enough, but. And then CDOM is just an overall indicator of organic matter. So that could be all kinds of different, the colored dissolved organic matter. So that could be all kinds of things like humic and fulvic acids from soil, from sewage. So the CDOM is definitely a less perfect indicator.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, we have two other questions in the chat. The first one is, what would shore-based verification of the plumes look like?
Yeah, I know. I agree. It's challenging. So we would do the same kind of sort of wading as far into the surf zone as is safe and feasible to get some grab samples. The big problem with that is that there's going to be a lot of contamination of the remote sensing image from foam and the surf and the sediment regeneration and the coastal zone. So it's not nearly as good as a boat sample, but we're hoping that we can at least catch any kinds of longitudinal longshore patterns in bacteria and tryptophan with the shoreline sampling. So that's, you're absolutely right that we're going to have to be very skeptical of the relationship between nearshore bacteria and offshore bacteria. So we're also going to be doing some nearshore sampling, shoreline-based sampling, along with the same time as we do the boat-based sampling, so we can test for that correspondence. But we're initially assuming that if there's a strong longshore pattern along the shore, that there will also be a similar pattern in the remote sensing reflectance. A few pixels off of the shore that won't be as contaminated with the surf and the wave action. So, yeah.
And we have one more question, which is, would the fluorescence-based methods work at lower levels of indicator bacteria, such as around the levels of statewide bacteria objectives?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've done some testing around San Diego State with a handheld probe, and it was the number of environmental interferences are pretty high. So contamination with other kinds of organic matter or turbidity can really interfere. So it's definitely most useful for fairly high contamination. I know the city of San Diego has done some pilot tests on using tryptophan for monitoring at those low levels. I think initially I would anticipate that it's going to be primarily good for high exceedance levels. And so I think there's a ways to go in sensor sensitivity before it could be used to decide is it above or below 110 MPN.
Great. Let's see. I saw there was another question in the chat. Trent, I'm not sure if you can see those ones because we will move to the next presentation. So if you're able to answer in the chat, that would be great. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Great. Well, thank you so much for the really great presentation. We appreciate your time. And with that, we'll move into our next presenters, which are Tegan Hoffman and Alexandra Stella. Tegan is the Executive Director at Coastal Quest, and Alexandra is the Program Coordinator at Coastal Quest. So thank you both for joining today, and feel free to start your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Beverly, so much for inviting us to speak. Alexandra, I don't know if you want to just say hello to everyone. Alexandra has been also working with the water boards like myself on a project related to state water quality protected areas, and we've been working with them for a number of years and trying to build some tools and resources and provide some extra capacity. And they invited us today to think about how we could also partner and help lift up other efforts related to the beach program. And so this presentation is going to be a little bit different than the other presentations. We're not going to be presenting a lot of data and results, but more sharing a little bit about our approach and our programs, and then asking you some questions. Alexandra, did you want to introduce yourself? I don't think your mic's working.
Hello?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Alexandra Stella, and I'm a program coordinator at Coastal Quest, and today I'll largely be supporting Tegan and hoping to hear more of what you're looking for in terms of beach quality data and how we can support you in meeting your project goals. I'll pass it back to Tegan.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, first I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Coastal Quest. We're a nonprofit. I am the first employee, started about 5 years ago, and our mission is really to help accelerate solutions with our partners and helping lift up solutions with partners that are building resilient coastal communities for both the economic community value and for people to access clean water and have recreational activities and be healthy, and also protect coastal ecosystems and ensure we sequester blue carbon and reduce risk from climate change. So we're really looking for multi-benefit solutions for coastal communities to ensure resiliency. We've been pretty busy the last few years. We've achieved a lot of impact working with our partners, helping lift them up, but protecting thousands of square miles of coastline and protecting and restoring it, that we're working with partners to do those efforts from Alaska, Oregon, out into Hawaii. But most of our work is in California. And we have also a big part of what we do is helping with getting funding for projects and really building the capital stack to make things happen. And so that's something that we've been thinking about with the water boards and how we can help this program and bringing in some more resources. We also provide what we call physical sponsorship services, where we are the administrative back office for projects or a neutral manager of funds for a lot of partners. And so we are incubating new projects that are evolving, that are on the coast, and that's been really rewarding and exciting to kind of help lift up those solutions. So we have some ambitious targets. I'm not going to go into them in a lot of detail, but you can see that we're really excited about our work and our ability to do work even under the conditions right now with changing priorities. We work at the local and state level, and there's a lot of opportunity and action, and we're very hopeful. So just to kind of share a little bit more about how we work and what our approach is and strategy, what we're focused on is we focus on the priorities of our partners, and that we work on projects where we have mission alignment. And so we are mission aligned with this speech program. And what we're focused on is really aligning players and partners on the project goals, helping design projects and plan them and map them out, and then secure the funding for it. And we've been very, very effective at that. We then really we're designing our projects with our partners, not for them. We're really co-creating these projects and ensuring that they're user-driven. And then we're really, we're kind of like the glue, rolling up our sleeves, doing whatever needs to happen to kind of get results on the ground and make things move forward. And so, as I mentioned, we're really advancing on the ground solutions by working with our partners with the planning and making sure that we have the capital stack. We're incubating projects and helping manage funds. Often public funding is really challenging to manage the public dollars. We can be more nimble with that funding. Managing those funds and regranting it or dispersing it, and then sharing knowledge in the field. And we run a number of different webinar series and cohorts, etc. So what does that mean for public-private partnership? I wanted to just share a couple of examples to give you a flavor of how we work with our partners so that we can then brainstorm together on what might be some interesting opportunities for the beach program or for your jurisdiction. So my first case study that I'm going to share with you is our partnership with California State Parks. California State Parks is the largest coastal landowner in California, and they have quite a lot of beach area that's going to be eroded, and they're estimating 60% of Southern California beaches could disappear by 2100. And State Parks has been kind of reactive to some of these challenges around sea level rise and flooding, and we've helped design a pilot for them to be proactive in the San Diego Coast District. And so we've worked very closely with headquarters and at the district level to think through how could we design a proactive approach at the district level where we could come out with a portfolio of solutions to advance. And so we started that in 2020. Coastal Quest wrote grants with the district and headquarters, but support and review and buy-in, and we got funding to do all of the vulnerability assessments and planning, and very complex project where we were looking to assess vulnerability in all the assets in 12 coastal park units, but then develop all the regional priorities. And we had stakeholder engagement, tribal consultation, we did a visitation study, and so we also planned a feasibility assessment related to this ramp that you see here that's eroding in South Carlsbad State Beach. And so now we've completed with state parks and all the partnership there. We've completed all that work, and we're now working with state parks where we've prioritized 10 adaptation projects, and we're moving those forward and in kind of the final rounds of negotiation for funding from the climate bond to move forward 5 of these priority projects. So what you can see here is we're really extra capacity. We're the glue. We're helping with the funding and the financing. We're building the capital stack. We manage the funds, and we're really working hand in hand with state park staff. So that's the one example I wanted to share with you. The other example I wanted to share was with the Ocean Standards Unit, the water boards, where they prioritized wanting to develop a tool to help with review of applications and enforcement opportunities, identify enforcement opportunities for state water quality protected areas, as well as support data and information to inform nominations of state water quality protected areas. And so we started this effort a couple years ago in anticipation of some of the 30 by 30 needs, and we did a pilot in the Central Coast. Coastal Quest secured some initial funding to do the pilot. We've now secured some additional funding to now scale the whole tool, but we developed this tool for the Central Coast where we were able to really put in a bunch of data layers that haven't been accessible in the past all in one place, both permitting information and land data, as well as coastal water data and information on biodiversity and water quality. The tool was found so helpful for DFW that they asked us to put in some information related to some of the offshore energy and some other aspects. And so it's really evolved, and we are in the process of scaling it. What's next? Well, we just submitted a proposal to kind of help put together some recommendations for nomination of sites through kind of some scientific analysis and stakeholder input. So that's really exciting. So you can see here, again, we're working really hand in hand with the Ocean Standards Unit and the Central Coast Regional Board and other stakeholders to develop this regional tool that's going to help accelerate solutions on the ground. Another example is more at a county scale, where we've been working with Orange County, building a coastal resilience partnership and helping we did a vulnerability assessment of all the wetlands and their migration that might happen in the future due to climate change, and identified all the parcels where there could be opportunities for restoration or acquisition for new wetlands. And we helped put together proposals for a number of different partners through this process in the partnership: City of Newport, City of Huntington Beach, OC Coastkeepers, as well as California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and others who some have already secured some funding where they actually were the applicants, but we helped write the proposals to do restoration work. And so that's been really rewarding. The number of these are in the queue right now with the Wildlife Conservation Board and Coastal Conservancy for the climate bond. And then the last example I wanted to give is that we are the technical assistance provider for the Ocean Protection Council's SB1 funding. And so we have been working with local jurisdictions and helping them prepare their applications to receive sea level rise planning funding, and then a track 2 will be opening for nature-based solutions momentarily. But we have supported dozens of local jurisdictions with their grant writing efforts, as well as tribes, and they've secured $17 million to date due to this technical assistance. So it's been really effective, and we'll be continuing this program in the future. So those are just some examples that I wanted to share with you about our programs with Orange County and in California Ocean Protection Council. And now what I wanted to do is turn it over to you and really spend the next 15 minutes that's on the agenda hearing from you about what are some opportunities to enhance the program. So here is a list of some ideas that we heard and talked about from Beverly and Kat and team from the Ocean Standards Unit. And We heard that there could be some opportunities to enhance the program, such as evaluating public beach attendance to update AB 411 status. We could think about some opportunities to increase and kind of target environmental justice communities and initiatives. There could be some opportunities to develop alternative test method studies or evaluating historical beach monitoring data to help determine future monitoring, or, you know, maybe there's some more needs for general program funding to aid beach monitoring or expand it. So those were just some initial ideas. And I wanted to now open it up on the floor and really hear from all of you about what you think would be interesting to partner on and work on together. Or if you have any questions, happy to answer those as well. And then I have another set of questions. Who would like to?
Thank you, Tegan. Let's see. I'm just monitoring the chat here. See if we have any questions maybe from some of the agencies. Any comments about these potential opportunities or questions you may have?
Are these some of the questions or needs that you're seeing that you would like to enhance in your programs, or are you thinking that you kind of have all the resources you need right now? Maybe what might spur some ideas as well is my next slide, which is really, you know, how could we support the beach program? You know, is it helpful to secure funding? Do people need more funding? I mean, what we heard was that, you know, the budget has been stable for over a decade, but the costs have gone up. And so there are some shortages because of that. And so, you know, is that an issue? Is there a need to manage those funds if there was additional funding secured and support that as a nonprofit that can be a little more nimble and maybe get private dollars as well as other public dollars? Are there needs and opportunities to identify partners to collaborate with and help support this work? What else?
Let's see. Also looking through any participants that may, let's see here. I know there's a few participants from Ventura County and San Francisco. So let's see, where else? San Diego. Might be a few other counties on here as well. But yeah, any and all feedback that you guys might have or questions or just things that you would want to share about potential opportunities.
I had a thought just because you're teeing up a great discussion here and lots of great questions. And I'm relatively new to this group, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this may be the first time that the group has thought about this. Mm-hmm. And these are, you know, pretty good questions. Perhaps we could follow up with a survey or some way to, you know, not everybody can attend the meeting, so maybe a survey to kind of get more in-depth, thoughtful responses.
Absolutely. We talked about doing a survey, but we wanted to do an introduction first.
Oh, yes.
That's a great idea, and
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, if you have any, you know, suggestions, I'll be ending with sharing my email address or typing it in here, Alexandra and I, and then people can contact us too. Any other thoughts, reactions?
Oh, I raised my own hand on accident. Sorry.
Concerns?
Concerns.
Are people excited about this opportunity to think about this?
Yeah, that's a great opportunity. I kind of wonder if there's like maybe a little bit more interest in some of the folks that are on the beach bummer list. I know that they've done some studies on, source tracking and stuff like that. And that's kind of interesting. Unfortunately, I can't think of anything for East Bay Parks at this time.
Okay.
Thank you for the feedback. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Any other reactions, comments? Okay.
Alrighty. Well, I do definitely like the idea of doing a potential like survey or follow-up. One of the good things about this meeting is that it'll be recorded and then posted on our website as well. So in case any of the agencies who missed it, who would want to view it later, or if anyone has any questions, you can definitely reach out to Tegan, Alexandra, or myself as well through the beach monitoring email, and then potentially getting a survey opened up, as it is kind of like a newer idea. Great. Thank you so much, Tegan, Alexandra, for sharing the presentation. Definitely appreciate it. And
thank you. I'll just put my email in there if anybody has any questions they want to send to me, and then we will be following up with Beverly on a plan. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Alrighty. So with that, I think we will move into our last break. So we will. It was originally 11:15 to 11:25, but we're a little ahead of schedule, so we'll come back at 11:15, and then we'll hear from our final work group presenter, and then wrap it up with any questions. So we'll see everyone back in about 9 minutes. Alrighty. We will end the break and get started with our next presentation. Our next presenter is Rafa Maestu, and he is the Research Program Specialist in the Office of Information Management and Analysis at the State Water Resources Control Board. So Rafa, I'll let you take it away with your presentation.
Thank you, Beverly. Again, my name is Rafael Maestu. I am the Chief Data Scientist and Economist for the Water Board. I've been with the Water Board for 26 years now. I work in the Office of Information Management and Analysis with Lori Weber and Michelle Tang, that you saw the presentation today. By the way, that was a great presentation, Michelle. So what I want to talk about today is making the data, the Beach Watch data, publicly available, and also talk about some proposed visualizations on how to evaluate, the postings and closures and advisories in the program. So a little bit of history. Probably everybody is aware, familiar with, the AB 411 that created the section 115.910 of the Health and Safety Code that basically directs the health and safety officers and the Water Board to do certain things like, do monitoring, collect information, identifying the sources of the pollution, how many postings or closures. I mean, this really was the initiation of the program back in 1995. So this is not a new program. It's been going on for a long time. And also, it requires the water board to do certain things, to make the data publicly available at every month, by the end of every month, and also to produce an annual report that summarizes all the issues that we've been collecting, and make all this data publicly available. So AB 411 comes with you read the bill, really start looking at how do we measure success, how do we do the program evaluation of the actions that we are doing, basically to answer the question, is it safe to swim, or what is the risk of these beaches, and are things getting better or worse? So some of the things that we came out with over the years is, for example, is the beach availability, the percentage of days the beach is available for swimming. That indicator actually shows that for the most part, beaches are 95 or more of the time available for swimming. So we are counting, we're doing the bin counting, like the number of events, advisories during the swim season and during the dry season. Also, we are looking at the location of these advisories, but also where are we doing monitoring? Because the more monitoring, the more information we actually have. So another thing that we came out with a long time ago, this is 2003 is like really the beach mile days, which is the duration and extent of those advisories. It's not just that things are happening, but how long do they happen for, and what is the extent of that? So we came up with that calculation of beach mile days that it was used for a long time to report the situation of those beaches. Actually, we track the monitoring frequency, how many of them are monitoring daily, and what are we monitoring for, and things like that. So this is like this program was actually one of the most interesting programs to measure the performance of the program or the success of the program itself. So going back, these are all reports, and the reason why I'm showing this is because I was part of this at that time in July 2003. I helped with that report together, not in 1994, but in the 2003. And what we were measuring at that time is by county, how many advisories, how many incidences we have, the extent of those, the number of days that they were having, and actually calculation of the beach mile days. We thought that this actually was very interesting. We can actually do trends now. We can actually look at which counties have the largest number of advisories, and what was the extent and the duration of those advisories. Over the years, we have now the Beach Watch database, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it because you are putting the data into this database, and it took us a long time to make these workable. Building database is not a simple thing, and really try to capture the data from so many different sources about not just about the advisories, but actually the monitoring results. So one thing that we did, I think it was in our website. I put this together. Actually, the reason why I'm showing this too is because I did this in 2006. We were actually, the first graph that you see on the left is really the beach availability. It's basically the percentage of the time that the beach is actually available, that it doesn't have any advisories on it. And then the other one is tracking the beach mile days themselves. Now, what's interesting is this one, which is really a recreation of that previous table that I saw, which was in PDF, but this actually has more years. It has actually 3 more years of data. But we stopped reporting this in 2005. 2005 was the last year that we were actually showing the events, the number of days, and the beach mile days calculated. One of the reasons why beach mile days we are not publishing it anymore is because there was a lot of data problems. We had the start of the event, but not the end of the event, so we could not really calculate the days, and in many cases we could not really calculate the extent, the number of miles that they were closed. Even though in some cases what was very well reported, but we had to do a lot of data cleanup to be able to do that, and we're still planning to do that. Over the years, we put this information also in the performance report. In 2009 and 10 and 8 and 9, we were actually showing, with some simple graphs, how many beaches were monitored out of the number of beaches that we have in the state, and out of the beaches that were monitored, how many of them we have closures and postings and things like that. I think this was actually very interesting because, the focus still here in the performance report was to show the data by regional board, not so much by health officer or county. We have our web pages. These are the existing web pages that we have at the Water Board that is trying to actually show that information. The Monitoring Council has one, the beach program has one, and we actually have the all data for the beach annual reports. But we are not really doing what was intended in the law, which really was to put the data and information on a monthly basis available to the public. One of the reasons for that was actually because the counties were already making this data public, and other non-profit organizations actually doing a very good job informing the public of the beach availability. Now, there was in 2016 the legislature passed AB 1755, which is called the Open and Transparent Water Data Act, which requires the Department of Water Resources, the Water Board, Fish and Wildlife to actually make all our data sets publicly available. The Beach Watch data wasn't publicly available, and our plans is actually to publish the data sets in the California Open Data Portal. Now, there are 4 data sets that we can extract from Beach Watch. One is the postings and closures. The other one is actually the location of the monitoring stations. The other is actually details about the beaches that we are monitored for. And the last one is the one Michelle was using, and we actually have in Sweden, which is the monitoring results, the bacteria data that we are collecting. Now, these data sets have to be structured in a way that is useful for the users to understand what it means. It will have a data dictionary. We are planning to make this data publicly available maybe by the end of next week, if we can actually follow, because we have these internal protocols for data sharing ourselves here at the Water Board, that we have to make sure that it doesn't have private information and things like that. Now, we're also planning to make some of these data sets, convert this data into information. I think there was a question before about how we want to actually show the advisory data. This is an example of how we can actually show advisory information for a particular county. And I'm going to go live with this, see if I can actually show you how this will actually work in real time. So even though here it says that it's the County of Los Angeles, you can select any county and look at that. But what's interesting about it, you can click on a specific beach, and it will give you the postings and closures for that particular beach over time. You can click on any beach randomly, and it will just give you that information. If there are no closures, it will just show the information we have. Again, this is not just for one particular county. You can just go to statewide, and you can just randomly pick on one beach, and it will just give you the information for that particular beach. So one of the things we want to get is kind of feedback about how useful this information is. We think the public may be misled about the meaning of this data this way, but what we're trying to do is to kind of assess it's not just the duration, magnitude, or frequency of these events, but really, are things getting better or worse? And do we have years that are better than others? And why is that? And this doesn't show a clear trend over time, but you can identify certain years like 2024 or 2019 where these events were more frequent. But again, this is a statewide. If you look on a case-by-case basis, you will see that the information may not be exactly the same apply the same kind of logic to all the counties at the same time. There's another way of showing this information, which is not just the advisories, but really, let me just go here. Okay, so the monitoring events. So what are we monitoring for? And this actually shows, for example, for the county of San Mateo, that how much monitoring we're doing by and what parameters. You can see there is like an interesting trend, but this is information that we've been asked to provide on a regular basis. Another way of showing that data is actually when we look at one particular, sorry, I had to go, did I miss something? I think it's the same one. No, that's a different one. Oops. Okay, so another one is something similar to what Michelle was looking at. When you click on a particular beach or on a particular station, you can actually see the monitoring data for that station. But we know where the stations are, where the beaches are, and what the information is. Again, we are trying to, let me go back to the presentation. We are trying to do is see if we can find ways of effective communication to the public on information that we already have and make it useful, mostly for the legislature. I think the public is very well informed in many cases, but we get requests all the time about how are we doing, are things getting better or getting worse, or how is the program doing in general. And I think these kind of visualizations give a better feedback on what is it that we're doing. So any suggestions to make this better? There's also interest in how we're going to structure these open data sets. So once we make them public, we will welcome any feedback on how to make it better and more useful. So I'm happy to answer questions now.
Let's see here. Thank you, Rafa, for the really great presentation. We'll just hang out for a bit, see if there's any questions. Let's see here. I definitely think this is going to be some really good opportunities, considering that Safe to Swim, all this data that will be available on the California Data Portal, and the upcoming changes to Beach Watch. Lots of new and exciting things happening for the beach program, which is great. It's all kind of coinciding at the same time. It looks like we do have a question. For the public real-time water quality monitoring data would be the most straightforward and salient for deciding if and where to swim. Is anyone working on this, and how far off is this?
Lori, do you want to answer that question, or maybe it's really what Michelle was showing? By the way, the monitoring data is already publicly available. So we already have that accessible for the public to use. And it's updated daily.
Yeah, I mean, I would, real-time data as in the moment that it was collected, I think that from the state board, and yes, I agree that would be the best way to get the information out. I'm still, my understanding, and, Rafa and Beverly, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the data is collected by the counties, and then it's submitted to Beach Watch. So there is a lag, and I think that Michelle mentioned that lag. So I mean, I think that's what everybody would prefer to have over time, but I don't have a good answer as to like how far off that is. I don't know, Beverly or Rafa, have you guys pondered this thought at all?
Yeah, if you read AB 411, I mean, it was not designed for us to be providing real-time data. I mean, we had to provide information monthly. And for us, collecting the data really is to do more like a long-term program evaluation, to identify the beaches that are at higher risk and things like that. For the actual real-time monitoring, it's something I think the health officers of the counties
I think another thing, yeah, I think another thing to note too is that as part of the AB 411 requirements, those beaches that are visited by 50,000 people or more annually and are next to a storm drain that flows during the dry summer months is that they are sampled weekly. And so like all of these different beach stations in each of the county's jurisdictions have the requirement of monitoring and sampling these beaches weekly. And then when these beaches are sampled, when they run through the analysis, depending on what method they're using, it can take for some methods like DDPCR can be, I think it's 24 hours or less, whereas with other methods, it could take, anywhere from 24 or 48 hours to get the results back from those samples. And then they go through the process of being uploaded into the system. So usually the process in general of showing the results, gathering the samples, showing the results can take a few days. So in terms of how far off is doing real-time monitoring, that is a great question. And maybe as testing methods become more advanced over the years and we can kind of shorten that window between sampling and getting the results back would help with that. Let's see. Another question we got was, can you please explain how this data portal will differ from the dashboard that was presented this morning? That's a good question too, or like how they might kind of work together.
Okay. So, and this, I get a little bit of background because data is not information. So there are two different things. I think what we were presenting this morning is useful information to make decisions. The data itself, it has a lot of different data elements. It has a different structure. I mean, sometimes data is information, sometimes information is not data. But so the point here is that these data sets have very specific data elements associated with them that you can relate to. So it's integration of the data and for each one of those things that we want to measure. From the advisory, you're going to have beach information that you can calculate the beach mile days themselves. From the data, from this data structure, you can do a lot of other things that you could not do just with the bacteria information itself.
Can I actually, Rafa, sure. If I could maybe respond to this question a bit and sort of clarify something, because the underlying data source for the map that Michelle demoed this morning, the new Safe to Swim map, and what you were just showing, it's the same data set, or it's the Beach Watch data set. And so I see this as sort of two ways to visualize information. One is the raw data, which is the Safe to Swim map with the different risk factors, and you can drill down to the actual data. And then Rafa's sort of working on the piece of making the not only the Beach Watch data, but posting the beach notifications, posting that as well, making it available to the public. And then that information can either be incorporated into the map that Michelle presented, or the way it currently is set up, which is like a separate data visualization. So they're both using the same underlying data. It's just visualizing it in two different ways at the moment. But our long-term goal is to combine the two data visualizations so that you can access both the beach notification data and the raw and the monitoring data in the same sort of one-stop shop. I don't know if that helps answer your question. Great.
Yes. Yeah, looks like that was great. Thank you both. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. Just double checking. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Rafa, for the really great presentation. Oh wait, did we just get a question? Let's see. Okay. So from Sharon, we had a question of I think the least clear aspect of the various categories is what the public should conclude about postings, which reflect exceedances of water quality standards. So asking if the postings reflect exceedances of water quality standards, I think is the first part of the question. And then the Safe to Swim website will present those data using a use with caution category. Is that correct?
I think postings not always reflect water quality standards. Maybe other reasons for the postings.
Yeah, let's see. So, so for posting, it's when a bacteria threshold has been exceeded. So for like E. coli, Enterococcus, or total coliforms, when it exceeds a bacteria threshold, that's when a beach is posted like for an advisory, and then a closure is like for emergency purposes, like a raw sewage release or some sort of other emergency event that would cause a closure. So that's the first part of the question. And then the Safe to Swim website will present the data using the use with caution category.
I think what I was trying to ask was, so does that kind of correlate with these postings that are not a closure, not a clear-cut closure, or not a rain advisory necessarily? I'm not quite sure if those were included in that data set. I feel like maybe they weren't. I'm not sure. But it just seems like all these different kinds of kind of classifications are confusing, and the more they can be standard across the different platforms, it's one thing if the users are the folks on this call, right? People very knowledgeable about the data and what these things mean. But if it's more for the public, I think that it just has to be more of a clear go, no go, or, use caution is still kind of unclear, right? It depends on your risk tolerance. So it's going to involve judgment and how much you want to get in the water and things like that. Like what if it's a perfect day with great waves, they're going to want to get in. I guess. I don't know. So I just, I'm just more in the user category. I'm not really someone managing this program, but I just think from that perspective, that tends to be what seems confusing. There's a lot of, I think, postings in LA County pretty routinely that are, non-wet weather ones. So, what do people make of that, right? It doesn't look good for sure, but they're not closures.
If I can respond to that while Rafa is sharing his screen, that's an excellent point. And we all get confused at the different ways that bacteria data is presented, or indicator bacteria data, or just Safe to Swim information. This is why we're thinking very carefully about the communication and the messaging, and before we combine these sort of information about the postings with the actual data results, we want to think about how we're sending unified message, not only when these two components are combined, but also a unified message with what the county health departments are, presenting when they're posting beaches and on their websites. So that's why the communication piece is so important, and one of the reasons why we really value the feedback that we're getting at this meeting and in the future as well. That's why we're asking for feedback. So I just wanted to chime in and say thanks for bringing that up, and I'll turn it over to Rafa, who's showing some pretty cool graphs.
I'm just playing with it a little bit, just to show, anybody is interested in a particular beach. It does include the rain advisories, but the other ways of using these, like you click on all the counties in the state, and then you just say, just give me this one only. You can just look at one particular year and then keep that one only for the state. So you can see there were 63 rain advisories in the state last year. Anyway. Again, I agree this is probably for the public, will not be that much useful, But I think for the legislature and for us ourselves to evaluate the program and where the problems are, it's actually very helpful. But any feedback is positive. It's welcome.
Great. Let's see. We're just looking to see if there's any other questions. Okay, I think that was all of the questions. So thank you for the wonderful presentation, Rafa, and yeah, thank you. And really appreciate everyone's questions as well and comments as we start looking at new ways to kind of visualize the data from Beach Watch. So your feedback is much appreciated. And with that, we'll move into the final part of the meeting today, which is just go through discussion and questions. So one of the first things that we wanted to cover is that the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for May of next year because we have this meeting twice a year. And just wanted to kind of get the group's feedback to see if there's any particular topics that anyone would like to see during the next work group meeting. Just wanted to open that up to the floor as we kind of look for presenters for the next meeting in May. Alrighty. Great. Oh, new message. Let's see. I think a discussion of the Beach Watch changes would be relevant in May once things are in full swing. I definitely agree with that, Alan, because that will be a great timing with, it'll be just a few months after Beach Watch will be updated. So that would be a great opportunity for us to kind of go through those changes once it's up and running and things are in full swing. So definitely agree with that. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see. Mark, you had a question about mention of a new data format when we get the template available. Yes. So we're IT is working on finalizing the template, so we will be sending out like what the new bulk upload template will look like probably in the next few weeks. That way you'll have time to kind of review how the template will work with your system if you have any questions. But the new data format will include essentially new data fields that will be laid out in a specific order, and the controlled vocabulary will also be a part of that as well. So, and that's included in the business rules document. So hopefully we'll be able to get that new template over to the agencies in the coming weeks. I hope that answers your question. Great. Perfect. Yeah. Any other questions anyone would like to go over? Anything from the meeting today? From some of the presentations that we saw? Perfect. Let's see. Alrighty. Well, I think that will conclude the work group meeting for today. I just wanted to give a big thank you to all our presenters for sharing your presentations today and help answering questions. We really appreciate all of the knowledge and great information that was shared. And looking forward to seeing everyone in the next meeting in about 6 months. And we'll send out some of the presentations today that were shared with the group. And again, if anyone would like to reach out to anyone who is on the call, we do have all the contact info in the agenda. And then if you have any general questions, please feel free to reach out to the Water Board's beach monitoring email, which is up on the slide here. But great. Thank you everyone for joining today and hope you have a great rest of your day.